game like yesterday is unacceptable for anybody. Quite frankly, the whole thing's frustrating.
Welcome into Teal the Show. The Jaguars game against the Lions was definitely frustrating for more than just the team. The buzzword from coaches and players alike after yesterday's game has been embarrassed. The Jaguars were embarrassed in Detroit by the Detroit Lions, and now their record back on the slide. After all of the positives you felt just a week ago after the big win over the Ravens, all that seems to be gone now after the game against the Lions. The one positive that you can take from the game, the health of Trevor Lawrence. There was a big injury scare just before halftime as Trevor Lawrence laid in pain on the turf as the team headed into the locker room, but Trevor Lawrence was able to return to the game now. Lawrence still undergoing tests, but they don't think it's a knee injury, but his foot is being checked out.
Knee was checked out today. He's good there. No issues. Obviously sore from the hit, but we're still getting some more testing done on his foot and toe area.
Any worry about his availability for this upcoming week?
Not sure yet. I don't think so. I think things trending in the right direction.
While it seems like everything went wrong for the Jaguars on Sunday, the defense definitely is in the spotlight for their play over the past few weeks. The Jaguars have made some big investments into their defense, but they're not getting the results that they hoped from. 2 first-round picks a year ago, they've invested the second most cap space in the NFL in that defensive unit, and it's still ranked toward the bottom of the league. Something has to change, and the Jaguars coaches and players will have to look in the mirror to get it figured out.
You look at everything. Yeah, it's just a matter of, look, when I say we, the staff, coaches, we need to look at ourselves and see if we can coach things a little bit better so the players understand exactly what we're asking them to do, where to line up, how to line up, which gap to fit, and then it's on the player to understand that. So there's got to be some give and take. That's part of this game, and so it starts with us and making sure that we have everything covered before we can ask the player to just assume that he knows everything.
Despite the harsh loss in Detroit, no one's feeling sorry for the Jaguars because they have another big game on the schedule this week as they head to Nashville to take on the Titans. Of course, that's an AFC South rivalry game. The Jaguars have lost a lot of close games this year that feel kind of hurt, but this is the first time that they've really been embarrassed in this manner out on the football field. Now the question is, how will the team respond after the latest loss?
I think moving forward this week is going to be important for, I think, the psyche and the mentality of the football team and where we are, and just how guys respond, from that type of loss. And definitely things we can learn from. You want to sort of burn the film and move on, but you still have to go through it with them and fix the mistakes, make the corrections, and point out some of the good that was there. It can't be all negative. You still want to be able to correct some of the positive as well. But yeah, it's you don't want too many of these, obviously, but we can definitely learn from it.
There's more Teal the Show coming your way after a quick break. We'll have 1010XL's Frank Frangie here as we'll break down what went wrong for the Jaguars and maybe if they can get it fixed before Sunday's game against the Titans. Stay tuned. More Teal the Show's coming. Welcome back into Teal the Show. We've now got 1010XL's Frank Frangie here. Frank, before we get to the Jaguars, I'm looking behind you, and every week you have a Florida Gators helmet behind you, but today something looks just a little bit different back there.
Well, you noticed that right away, did you, Jamal? Let me tell you what happened. This is we have a charity called Walk Off Charities. It's helping underserved kids play baseball. And I got a tweet from a Florida State fan who knows I'm a Gator and said, how much of a donation would it take for you to stick a helmet back there, an FSU helmet back there one time with your show with Jamal? I said, $1,000 donation. He immediately made a $1,000 donation to Walk Off Charities, and I've got a Seminole helmet behind me. His name is Greg, and Greg, you're a wonderful guy. So thank you for doing it, and I'm happy to use the Seminole helmet. How about that?
How about that? Well done, Greg. Hey, can we get a Go Knowles from you since the helmet, the theme going with it?
That's going to be a lot more than $1,000, Jamal. We have to hold up on it. But I got the helmet at least. How about that?
All right, we'll work on that for next time. All right, let's get to the Jaguars, Frank. Sunday, the theme word has been embarrassed. Doug Peterson used it. Trevor Lawrence used it. The players felt embarrassed. And watching the game, you could see why. It never felt like the Jaguars were really in this one. This is the first time this year that the Jaguars have had a game just like that where from the very beginning you were like, this isn't going well.
It really surprised. It's the most surprising game for me, Jamal, in a long, long time. I was really surprised. I don't think it's an effort thing. They play hard for Doug. I don't think that. I think they got shell-shocked. They got kind of knocked down in the first round. And sometimes when a boxer gets knocked down in the first round, he never gets his equilibrium right. And I think that's what happened. Some key plays. The fumble early on by Travis Etienne gave the Lions a short field, and they're very good offensively. And then the drop by Zay Jones on the very next drive would have had first down at the 5-yard line. Instead, they've got to kick a field goal. 2 key mistakes early on, and then the Jags just couldn't get them stopped. 8 straight possessions, 8 straight scores for the Lions. A tough day for Jacksonville, no question about it.
Since you just brought up the drop by Zay Jones, it felt like a week ago Zay was catching everything that was going his way, and then on Sunday against the Lions, he couldn't catch anything. That just kind of felt like the culmination of just how things were rolling for the Jaguars. That offense couldn't find anything that would consistently work, and they only put up 14 points ultimately against what is technically, according to the stats, the worst defense in the league. That's not exactly a great sign.
Yeah, I think what happened with Zay, Jamal, at least this is my read, is he was hurt. His chest was hurt, the chest cavity, that area, right, the sternum area. He's a tough guy, and he tried to play through it, but I think it probably affected his play. It doesn't make sense. You're 11 catches for 145 the week before, and you're dropping a lot of balls the next play. I think he's a tough-nosed guy. He could have just said, look, I'm not going to play. I'm hurt too bad. But he said, no way, I'm going to try and give it a go. And I think he did try and give it a go, and I think the coaches were wise to let him try. The bottom line was I think he was injured, and I think that affected his play. But Zay will bounce back. I'm not worried about that.
All right, on the other side of the ball, the defense is definitely the kind of glaring issue of the week of sorts. Now, I don't want to take anything away from this Lions offense. The Lions offense has been putting a lot of points up this year. They are clearly a very dangerous unit with a whole lot of talent on that side of the ball. But the Jaguars defense is supposed to have a whole lot of talent too. The Jaguars have invested a ton of resources into trying to build this defense. I think earlier in the show I mentioned the stat, Frank, they have the second most cap space in the league this season invested in their defense. Yeah. And these are the results that they're getting. And that's not even mentioning the 2 first-round picks that they used just a year ago, plus Tyson Campbell, who was a second-round pick the year before. You get where I'm going with this. There's a lot invested, and they're not getting very good results.
No, I'm with you. And look, I was wrong about that, Jamal. I'm the one that told you and others I thought it would be a really good defense, a highly ranked defense, and it just hasn't been. I was wrong, and they got to figure that out. I am a little worried about the defense. There's no pass rush, and that's the big thing. NFL defense always starts with stopping the run and getting after the passer. They do okay against the run. They don't have much of a pass rush, and that hurts because they got young secondary guys. They need cornerbacks. I think we all know when the player procurement phase comes around, free agency, draft, whatever, they need cornerbacks. They don't have great corners, and that's reality. That was bad. Those guys were running wide open. The reality is Jared Goff had a lot of time, and guys were running wide open, and it was hard to watch. So they've got a lot of things they need to change. And they've got to figure out where guys should play. Doug Peterson said that right after the game. Is Trayvon Walker an outside linebacker, or should his hand be on the ground? Is Devin Lloyd a guy that should play inside, or is he maybe an outside guy that rushes the pass or something? They've got to figure out where their guys should play, because right now they're all over the place. It's kind of a mess. It really is.
I'm glad you brought some of that up, Frank, because when I start thinking about this defense, I'm like, okay, well, can you move the pieces around and all of a sudden get rid of one need? And you start to think about it when you start saying, well, is Trayvon Walker the right kind of player? Is that on the coaching staff? Is Mike Caldwell, a first-year defensive coordinator, kind of getting to that point of the year where the other teams have kind of figured out what he wants to do, and maybe he kind of thought players were something that they're not? Is that what we're seeing, is that this first-year coordinator maybe kind of just misread things?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. First of all, I don't think it's scheme. They've tried different schemes. They've tried zone. They've tried man. They've blitzed. They've stayed back. I don't think it's scheme. It may be when you call things sometimes. I think it's a personnel issue. I don't know that they misjudged how good their players are. I think they might have misjudged where they should be playing. I think Trayvon Walker is going to be a good player, but I think he's going to get up to 280, 285 pounds, and he's going to play with his hand on the ground most of his career. That's what I believe. Same thing with Devin Lloyd playing outside. After that, then there's not much depth. Losing Shaq Griffin at a position where you weren't very deep. Your first 3 guys, including Darius Williams, are pretty good. You weren't very deep. You lost a guy where you're not deep. I think losing Cisco really hurt them on Sunday. They didn't think he was going to be out. He's become a very big player. He's kind of the center fielder of the defense because Rayshon Jenkins plays up there in the box, and he's been a very good center fielder. So he watches things over the top, and he wasn't able to do that. So I think, again, the back end, I don't think it's Mike Caldwell. Now, that doesn't mean he's done a great job or hasn't done a great job. But their problems on Sunday were way more than scheme. When someone goes up and down the field on you 8 straight times, It's not that you're in the wrong formation. It's that you don't have enough of the dudes, and they need more dudes.
Yeah, they definitely need more dudes. It felt like Jared Goff was just out there playing 7-on-7. There was absolutely no pass rush, no reason for him to leave the pocket. And it's something that we've talked about before. I think I said before the season, if Josh Allen got to double-digit sacks, this defense was probably okay. We're not seeing that from Josh Allen. And when you look at the guys that are pass rushers, none of them really have many stats to their name. The only one that you can say has put up numbers at some point in his career, really DeJuan Smoot, and he's almost to where he typically is. He typically is a 6-sack guy. He's already got 5 this year. No one else has consistently put up any sort of numbers, and maybe we're projecting that some of these guys could be more impactful pass rushers than they really are.
That's the biggest problem on the football team, Jamal. No pass rush. And they're trying. Who practices harder or plays harder than Josh Allen? But he's not played very well. He hasn't made an impact. Trayvon Walker, again, he hasn't made an impact. DeJuan Smoot made an impact early, but he hasn't in a while now. It's been about 2 or 3 weeks now, if you think about it. Arden Key made an impact early, but it hasn't in a while. They are not affecting the passer, whether they blitz, whether they send 4 or even 3, they're not affecting the passer. That is the number one problem on the football team, Jamal. There's other areas. We talked about the back end. They dropped some balls last week, but they are not getting after the passer. And, man, the quarterbacks in this league are good, brother. If you can't get after the passer in this league, you're in a tough, tough way, and that's where they are right now.
That is a must in the NFL today. And I know I've heard some of the fans saying, well, why don't they just blitz more? Well, when you have problems in the back end, you talked about that secondary, they don't have the talent to play man coverage across the board. And if you start blitzing more guys, that's what you got to do.
Well, the other part of that, Jamal, is when they were blitzing, they weren't getting home. So if you blitz, you got to get home. I don't think their blitzers were good. So you got to get home when you blitz. I think that's a very big part of it. Yeah, they got. Now, what I'm encouraged about a little bit, I'm never encouraged when you get to go play Derrick Henry in Tennessee, but I will tell you they're better against the run than they are against the pass. They can build a defense better, and they don't need a high-flying offense to play against these days. The fact that they're playing against a running team, although a very good one and a very angry one after they lost to Philadelphia, I'm glad they're playing a running team, not a passing team this week.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how they kind of try and get some of these issues fixed this week as they get ready to go up to Nashville. The Titans game, always a big game. I know Doug Peterson today was saying the team's goals are still right in front of them. 2% chance of making the postseason at this point, and it goes down even lower than that if they lose to the Titans on Sunday. Frank, do you think they can get some of the issues corrected this week and go up to Nashville and do something that this team feels like it hasn't done in forever, and that's win in Tennessee?
Tough game. It's going to be a tough game right now. You're reeling a little bit, and they're mad, and you don't play very well up there. I don't think anyone's going to pick them to win up there. That doesn't mean they can't. I think they'll be in the game. I think they've got the better quarterback, and when you have the better quarterback and both teams have really good coaches, you generally have a chance. But I think this is a tough game. You have to make Tennessee one-dimensional to have a chance at all. You know, Derrick Henry had like 30 yards against the Eagles. He didn't run very well. If they can do to Derrick Henry what the Eagles did. Now, the Eagles played from ahead, which meant the Titans had to throw a lot in that game, but you've got to find a way to slow him, or he's going to run all over you. But I'll bet it's a good game. I think the Jags hang around because there's nobody there that can pass happy the Jags or pass it all over the park, and that's what's giving them problems.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll talk more about that on Friday's Teal the Show episode. Thanks for being here tonight, Frank, and thank you at home for tuning in. That'll do it for Teal the Show. Good night, and go Jags.